Hello and welcome back to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Sharyn Conyers. Thank you so much again for joining us. I'm glad to welcome our guest, Lavern Nissley, who is the Executive Director of the Marriage Resource Center of Miami Valley. Today we're going to be talking about a very important topic, which is family and marriage and the importance of marriage education. So Lavern, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. Again, marriage is such an important topic, and today you're going to be talking to us about the importance of marriage education. Why do you think we need to be educated in marriage, or that should be important?
The fact is that most of us don't grow up in very healthy marriage. We don't have healthy models, perhaps. When we ask people, couples in our classes, how many of you would like a marriage just like your parents? Very few of them raise their hands.
Wow.
And so even though my parents are still married and my wife's parents are still married after over 50 years, we would not, there are some things that we would want to do different because there were, unhealthy things that were going on there. So just, the unhealthy models perhaps is one of the first things.
And so that is what you would tell marriage couples. That's why it's important for you to go to classes. What type of classes do you have, and what is involved in your classes of marriage?
Yeah, our classes are typically 8 hours in length, and some of those are like a full day, Saturday, or they may be split into 4 sessions, so 4 Tuesday evenings. And they're very skills-based, very practical. The two main things that couples come to us with if they're struggling in their marriage is we can't communicate with each other,
Right.
and we can't resolve conflicts. And when we hear that, we go, yes, because that's exactly what these courses and classes are designed for. So we teach them how to do it. Typically, my wife and I, or whoever the facilitators are, we demonstrate skills that have been shown to work. We've had over 1,500 couples come through the Rings Experience class, which is the sort of the flagship class that we offer. And it's just, it's worked for a lot of couples.
But why do you think so many couples have such a hard time communicating with one another? Why do you think that is? Because that's always the number one,
Yeah,
the communication of
absolutely.
money, but why do you think they can't communicate?
Well, we come from different backgrounds. We are also different people. There's male and a female, and as you know and your viewers know, males and females typically process things differently. We have different personalities. You may have one who's very outgoing, one that's more introverted, and so because of the many, many differences that we have to navigate in a marriage relationship, it just, for example, my wife and I, we've been married for 35 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you,
Yes,
thank you.
yes.
And we're still working on it, by the way. We have not arrived. We have to continue working on it, and pretty much every year we try to get some kind of a marriage education, some enrichment experience for ourselves so that we can continue to grow and hone our skills. We aren't perfect. We're healthy. We think we have a healthy relationship. But it is really fulfilling to see couples who may be very illiterate with regard to relationship skills actually start gaining some confidence in how they communicate and how they resolve conflicts. We can see it in an 8-hour period.
Really?
A couple that starts out prickly and cold and they're sitting 3 feet apart, actually moving together during the day and really having a sense of connection and intimacy by the time they're finished. Now, that's not every couple, but 80 to 90% of the couples, we would estimate, really make significant progress.
What do you think is one of the, I want to say, one of the greatest misconceptions people have about walking into a marriage?
That all you need is love.
Right, yes.
You need a lot more than love, and you need skills, too. You need a sense of commitment. And our classes really build on 5 C's. Commitment, so committing to each other, that's the foundation. If you don't have that, you really don't have anything solid to build on. The second is connection. How do you actually connect with each other? And that deals with a lot of communication kinds of things. Cooperating. How do you work together in view of the fact that we're so different from each other? Fourth is confronting. How do you resolve conflicts? And the fifth is confiding. How do you protect, how do you live in transparency, high definition, in order to really keep something precious and keep mistrust from growing in the relationship.
That's really, really good. And all of the C's that you mentioned are very important in making a relationship work. And I think, you know, I didn't get a chance to say this, but I really think it's interesting that you said you and your wife have been married for 35 years, but you are still doing classes and still doing things to continue to keep that connection together.
Right.
Because you know, Ali, I have seen a lot of people, probably lately, that have been married for that long, getting divorced.
That's true. Yeah.
Which was kind of like odd. It's like, you've been married 35 years, why?
Yeah, why can't you keep
right,
going
keep
just
working,
a little bit longer? And we wouldn't ever, you know, suggest that couples stay together if there is a lack of safety. For example, if there's domestic violence going on, or, you know, sometimes even infidelity can happen, and that's not insurmountable, by the way. We have seen a lot of couples work through infidelity, addictions. We've seen them work through that. I think the key really is, if they want to make it work and not have to start over with someone else, because that's a challenge in itself.
Absolutely.
You have a whole new set of things to adjust to, whereas if you can get some help, some marriage education. By the way, you know, we require that people have driver's education before we give them a license, right?
Right.
Why not really make it an important part of the preparation process to also say, you know, we think it's really important that you prepare for your marriage.
That's good. So what would you suggest for a couple who is engaged and they're about to get married? What would you suggest for them before they get married? You know, wait for a year, or you know, get some classes or get some counseling before marriage. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, there's all kinds of ways to prepare, and a lot of pastors already have a regimen. They have some expectations that they have that requires, you know, a couple to come in for some counseling. We actually do marriage education and mentoring, and so we match them up with another mentor couple who is trained and skilled, and they pretty much know the steps to go through. It's also based on a premarital inventory where both partners get on the computer and we give them a code, and they answer about 150, 175 questions. And then we get the report back, and we can see, are they vitalized, are they conflicted, are they devitalized? You know, what are some of the things that they may need to work on? For example, communication, finances, parental expectations. Many times couples are so focused on planning the wedding that they forget to prepare for the marriage.
Oh, that is so good. Say that one more time, please, so the viewers can hear.
Yes, so focused. Oh, let me put it this way. In your marriage preparation, in your wedding preparation, don't forget to prepare for your marriage.
Yes, yes, don't forget to prepare for your marriage. So true. I can say that for women, because we want the wedding to be beautiful, perfect, you know, lovely. And you know, I can say this from, you know, I was married before, and you know, I think about before and how that was my focal point. And now that you say that, and you know, we make mistakes and we move on. And you know, God has blessed me with a husband who's wonderful. We have a wonderful relationship. But it's funny, because the second time around, that's all I was focused on. I didn't care about the wedding. Matter of fact, it was small. The first one was humongous. But I was more focused on the relationship. I said, I want this to be right. You know, I believe that marriage is honorable in the sight of the Lord, and I want to do things right. So I think that to me is so focal, because I think we don't really do that. We prepare for the wedding. We want this wedding to be elaborate. We want it to be beautiful. And we really forget, is this person and I compatible? Will we be able to get along with one another? Will we be able to communicate with one another? Tell us some important reasons why you think education in marriage is so important.
Well, education is a positive thing in anything you do. So whether you're trying to learn how to learn a new skill, or there's a process that you go through. You go from being maybe somewhat ignorant about how this works to gaining some proficiency and some confidence, and then many couples don't know what they don't know. You know, they go into marriage thinking, all I have to do is kind of show up and it'll be a breeze. You know, it's kind of automatic. There's nothing automatic about marriage.
Right.
You really have to work at it.
You really do.
My wife and I, we still have our conflicts. We have totally different personalities from each other. But we've also learned that we can make it work. There are certain things that we have to do on a daily basis. And one just very practical thing is what we call a rings chat. A rings chat is an acrostic for a little tool, a way that couples can talk with each other. And you can see that at ringsprogram.com if you want to follow that up. But it's real. You know, how are you really feeling today? That's R. I. What's information, or what's your intentions today? What are your plans? N is for, what do you need from me? G is for, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for in this relationship? And then the S is someday. You know, what are we looking forward to? For example, our someday today is we'd like to go cross-country skiing this weekend up in Findlay, and so that's just something that we can look forward to. If we don't do those rings chats, it's kind of like not doing maintenance on a car, not getting the oil change, not getting the tires rotated, and so on.
You're talking about doing this daily, or these are just daily?
Daily.
Right. I said, why don't
so
we
it's coffee in the morning, a little bit of quiet time ourselves, and then we come together, sit on the couch, and just go through that rings chat, and then we pray together.
Well, I think that's wonderful. We don't have that much time, but I think this is a very important piece because, you know, when you first get married, if you don't have any children, that seems like an easy thing to fit in. You can have those rings, but when you got some screaming kids, how do you fit those chats in?
I understand. We did that ourselves. We had 3 children of our own. We understand that, and you have to be creative. You find ways. You find time to take a bath. You find time to brush your teeth. Those things that need to be done, or others are going to be upset. You know, so you have to be creative, and we realize it's challenging at times.
And let's talk about that. How can kids really? How should we be mindful that when kids do come and when we have children, that we still need to work on the marriage? How important is that? Because sometimes we can neglect one another and focus on the children.
And we would say that it should be just the other way around. If you're focusing on each other, you're actually doing your kids a favor.
That's really good.
You know, you're really serving your children much better. You're better at parenting, less conflict that way. And so we've seen couples that, you know, the kids are agitated and everything. Well, it's because they're not getting along. And so the priority really needs to be, that's the first institution that God established, not parenting, it's marriage.
That's good. So how would people get involved in your program? We have some married couples who are really in need of that. How would they get involved?
Either our website, marriageresourcecenter.org, or ringsprogram.com. Both of those will lead you, and we have live classes as well as we have some online classes as well, which is very good for your viewers if they're quite a distance from Springfield.
Okay, and those are online, you said?
Online, yes.
Okay, and what do those live classes consist of?
The live classes are coming and being with 12 to 15 other couples. And
they're live. I thought you were saying live.
Oh, live.
Oh,
no, they're live
got
classes, but then also online classes, which all you need is a computer and a high-speed internet connection.
Wonderful.
You can do that, and a lot of the same back and forth, same skills, exactly.
One more thing you want to give to our marriage couples out there, what would you tell them is one of the most important things to keep in their marriage together?
One of the most important would be praying together on a daily basis.
That's good.
Those couples that pray together on a daily basis have less than 1% chance of failure.
Wow, I love that. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving us that information. And I want to thank all of you viewers for joining us on Joy in Our Town.